Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the one and only Kaspa coin, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys hear birds, sorry about that. It is spring. I am at the house right now recording this as we speak. And I mean, damn, these birds are just probably somewhere in the tree that is right beside, where I kind of record. So, damn it, birds, you're ruining my video. But listen, anyways, look, Kaspa candle, right? The weekly candle closed pretty solid. There was a little bit of rejection, but there was a little bit of rejection for most coins as they did kind of sell off on the Saturday and Sunday a little bit. That's because Bitcoin did have a moment of retracement, right? If we go, we could see that kind of when we hit the Friday mark down until the Sunday mark, kind of where the weekly candle closes, because it doesn't necessarily end at the end of the Sunday. It kind of ends around around 5 p.m. More or less. So we can see that we did retrace a couple percent on Bitcoin, right? A couple percent on Bitcoin, just $2,000, whatever. But it is still something. Altcoins always get a little bit more affected. And we can see right now we're kind of just ranging. We are kind of just ranging. I do believe there will be a point where we do probably go back to 91,500, probably take out this area here. And the reason why I mention this is because, ladies and gentlemen, Bitcoin affects a lot of coins, right? That is ultimately the truth. Yes, Bitcoin did have a great week. A lot of coins did have a great week. Sometimes Bitcoin can have a mediocre week, and altcoins can still do well because it also depends on the project, the amount of money, etc. Yada yada yada, right? You get it. But look, in terms of Kaspa, we rejected off a very crucial area, which was expected to sell off because we practically rejected off the biggest and most relevant support zone, which is now at this current moment a resistance, right? If we go to something like this, we can see the monthly candles, multiple monthly candles over here, right? We can see that it is a resistance at this moment, but in my opinion, we will flip to being bullish, and we will flip this resistance to a support. Now, I do personally believe that there will most likely be some type of pullbacks. Now, I'm not saying we're going to get the most fundamental pullbacks, right? Because we were just in a downtrend. We were just going sideways. So the most fundamental pullbacks of, proper corrections going off of proper zones, it might not happen now. If we do get, some kind of correction in the zone, it might be during the bear season, right? We obviously are still kind of far away from that because we haven't even had altcoin season. But yeah, look, ultimately this is a great zone for it to retest. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to retest off here, right? We could technically consolidate off of this zone because this is the last relevant structure before we kind of have a massive big fundamental pullback. So I do personally believe we most likely will break out of this. It might consolidate a little bit. If I am wrong about Bitcoin, retracing this week, then we most likely will just range here and break out if Bitcoin continues to push, let's say upwards of $100,000, right? Overall, it is looking really good for Kaspa. The worst days are ahead, okay? The worst days are ahead. I can confirm that. And the best days are yet to come. For me, this is one of those things where if I'm looking to get into Kaspa right now, I'm not looking to be super stingy with the price of this coin. Ultimately, guys, with crypto and everything, there were certain zones where you could have been buying, right? We talked about certain liquidity sweeps. I personally had a buy limit at, I remember, 8.5 cents. And then when it kind of swept this area, in the moment I was on the app and I bought around 7.5 cents. And then again, I bought a little bit lower, right below, like 6.5 cents, right? So, when you see good prices, you just have to start dollar cost averaging and, give a reason of why, of course, you're buying. We did have this nice, beautiful retest off of this last relevant top before we obviously got the expansion. So that was a great area to buy. Obviously, when you saw things were tracing, buying up 7.5 cents was good too. And now, obviously, 9.5 or potentially 8.5 cents is also going to be fantastic because in the bigger picture, we will ultimately see, Kaspa starting to rise and go up super high, right? I believe this coin will do wonders this cycle. We also know, ladies and gentlemen, that, May 5th is going to be a big time for something like Kaspa. We are going from 1 BPS to 10 BPS. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, we are going from 1 BPS to 10 BPS on May 5th, practically a week from now. And that means the coin is going to be 10 times, better ultimately, right? So I don't expect too much bearish price action, right? If anything, this price maybe a little bit lower, but we're going to just start climbing up. Bitcoin is ready to start climbing up. Kaspa itself as a project is ready to ultimately start climbing up, right? Like I said, even if it retraces, this week is going to be the retracement week. Next week, there might be a little bit of liquidity sweep of whatever, but May is most likely going to, at worst, consolidate to continue to pretty much recover. Like I said, I believe April, May, and June were the recovery months for cryptos, right? And I did say on this channel that I did believe that we were going to sweep, the March lows, the 3-month candle, right? Because it's all the same thing. We have this daily that gets swept, we have the weekly that gets swept, the monthly, we have the 3-month candle that got swept, right? We swept it and we ultimately right away just reversed. And there we go. I mean, it was just that easy, right? And we can see that we are back to the very most important crucial zone that we held on for months before we had some type of correction, but we're back. So there's not going to be a full another wave of sells and stuff, and I really do believe we will be in this zone, in this context, and that we won't be going back down to these areas. We won't be creating new lows because it just doesn't make sense, right? From what I see on Bitcoin, right? On Bitcoin, I believe this 3-month candle is going to look to try to at least at the minimum recover to the highs. And I believe the next 3-month candle will be pushing, Bitcoin higher. And that's when ultimately we're going to start shifting into altcoin season and Kaspa will follow. So, if you ask me, is 9.5 cents a great buy for Kaspa? I say yes. I say technically anything under 20 cents, right? You are going to make a good amount, right? It's obviously not going to be a lot if you buy under 20 cents, because I do expect, this coin to hit $2. So, 10x is still great. But here you could potentially be getting 20x, right? Or a little bit more than 20x. If we go to something like this right now, we go to Kaspa, right? We are the 41st in the world. We're at 2.5 billion market cap. We're not even listed on the most biggest exchanges. We have great volume, right? And this project is going to pack a punch literally in a couple of days. So what are you waiting for, right? What are you waiting for? I know I'm more of a technical analysis guy, right? I haven't really covered the coin fundamentally, and maybe I'll start doing that a little bit, right? I've only, covered, the most important news. But if you don't know what Kaspa is, respectfully, I don't mean this in a rude way. That's why I say respectfully. Just go watch a video on YouTube to learn about the most fundamental stuff, or just read on, on Twitter. Go on their page. Go on their, pretty much the blueprint they have, and you'll see what Kaspa is, right? You'll see what Kaspa is. Ultimately, long story short, they're trying to become the new Bitcoin. People say this is the Bitcoin replacer. Now, I personally, I don't think that will ever happen because the big money won't let it happen. But I do think Kaspa very well has a great spot in the future of crypto, years to come. So I personally am super high in this coin. I believe you guys should be too. Always make sure to do your own research. Remember, right, this week is most likely going to be some of the most final buying weeks between, let's just say, 9.5 cents and 8.5 cents. And yeah, the good times are ahead. In fact, great times are ahead. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys did enjoy it, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.